Yes, people, welcome back to Albert JTV for a lunchtime special with my brother from another mother, Lee Mark Judges. But before we get into it, people, let's smash the intro. And there you have it, people. Funky intro Monday afternoon intro into Albert JTV match review. The mighty Arsenal 3, Manchester United 1. It's amazing difference what 10 minutes can make in football, trust me. Because I'll tell you what, I was ready to come with very different energy after that game. Yeah, particularly after the week before as well, man. But people, as I like to normally say, obliterate the like button, don't touch it, smash it, people, get them algorithms up, and subscribe to Albert JTV. Now, as you can see, people, I have a special guest with me. Only the second time I managed to get him on this channel, actually, because he's a busy man, Lee, sometimes, So, I prize him away, speak to him after the game. I said, Lee, give me 20 minutes for tomorrow. He said, you know what? No problem, mate. Judges, glad to get you on, mate. How you feeling?
Oh, absolutely buzzing. You caught me at a bloody good moment there, you know what I mean? So I'm buzzing. Listen, I don't care. Anybody see millimeters, inches, they matter now, in football, it's unreal. And it does, because that half inch or whatever it was,
yeah,
I can't put into words how much how big a difference that is.
Yeah,
because we'd have lost that game 2-1, and the situation would have been a lot worse than what it is today. But from that moment on, the next 10 minutes, you know what I mean, was pure joy. And the best thing about it, I don't care about it and all that, is the bitterness and upset from the Man United fans is just worth it all, because I don't feel for them in any shape or form. They've had it all their way for so long with decisions and things like that. They've had two go, I think, unbelievably from this season. The Onana penalty, which was a penalty.
100%.
The Rashford penalty last week was never a penalty if that one weren't given yesterday. No. And for the first time, love and behold, the first penalty that's been overturned on contact happens to be Arsenal. And whether you think it's a penalty or not, I've looked at it a few times. It's soft. If it wasn't given, I understand it, but it was given. There's no way any other time that's been overturned by a referee. Never has VAR overturned that. There's always, there's slight contact there and blah, 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 blah. There was no way that was clear and obvious yesterday, but it goes for Man United. But they don't hear nothing about that. They don't say anything about that. They're saying that the lines weren't right. And listen, when their manager is, I'm telling you, clutching not a straw. He's clutching at a bunch of it, you know what I mean? At the end of it, saying that there weren't lines there was a penalty here and all there. I love it, absolutely love it. And that last 5 minutes, Albert, bottle it and enjoy it for a very, very long while. I'm absolutely buzzing, and I've got to say, I probably covers up a little bit. If I'll be honest, weren't the greatest of game. If I'll be honest, but that last 5 minutes, it's just worth every minute of it, every minute of it.
No, you make a good point, Judges, because obviously I saw you after the game when we drew a Fulham, and the vibe was very, very different. And, it was feeling like that, the match yesterday with, 15 minutes to go and United get the goal, disallowed goal, and it's, the fans are probably thinking, oh, you know what, I'm ready to give a good old session on the fan cams like you did last week, Judges. But so we'll take it back to the start now. So coming into the game, I've got to be honest, I wouldn't say I was super confident, but I thought Arsenal would win. I went 2-1 prediction before the game because I just didn't think we would keep a clean sheet at home, and it hasn't, and it's happened again, Judges. I think we've got 4 clean sheets at home in over 20 plus games now. I don't know how we're going to rectify this, but it's going to have to happen sooner rather than later. But obviously we learned that Thomas Partey's not fit. So I kind of think the manager's hand was forced a little bit, judges, to revert back to our flat back four. But I guess for you, really, mate, no surprises really that we went back to flat back four, even with Thomas Partey missing?
Yeah, listen, for the first time since Thomas Partey signed for us, I wasn't gutted that he was injured. And I'm not meaning this horribly.
Yeah.
Because I think it would have been a dilemma for the manager. I think that it took that dilemma out of his hands, if I'll be honest, and it made it an easier decision for him to leave him out. I honestly think he would have left Partey out. I think if he'd have either played Partey at right back or he'd have left him out, it was the right decision. I would have liked to have seen Thomas Partey play alongside Declan Rice in midfield. I think that'd probably be our best midfield outlet. But if I'm being really honest, you want to give Havertz an opportunity. But for me, yeah, that was the team that I thought he was going to go for. If I'll be really honest, it wasn't the team that I would have gone for. I think that Havertz. I think Havertz at the moment. I watched him yesterday, and I'm feeling sorry for him. I think he's a player that is lacking in confidence. You can quite clearly see that. If the penalty decision goes out, it was a great little burst, but things are just not going well for him. So I would ease him into the team, like last 20 minutes when the game's open, maybe bring him into. So, but that's another thing. I looked at the team, very, very happy with it, and I'm going to be really honest, Albert, when I say this now.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter who is in that back four at the moment. We still look vulnerable. 100%. There's something not quite. It's not the players. It's the way we set up. We're far too open at home. I haven't put my finger on it where it is yet or whatever. But I felt that Man United every time, and I know like you're in the element of the game, and like you're always feeling the worst going to happen. But I felt that every time Man United did counter attack us, they looked like we looked vulnerable. We looked like they was going to score. Ramsdale made a very, very good save. And then on the rebound, Ben White managed to block it. There was a few things like that. But all in all, when I see the team, I felt, yes, a little bit more confident in the way that we're going. And I've got to say this, Albert, looking at the substitutions, look at the bench, our bench yesterday, very, very strong. There's do you know what? We were saying this, and I'll say it a couple of weeks. Last season, there was a few youth players on there, like bench fillers. Do you know what I mean? Like, not being horrible to them and being disrespectful, but that's what they were. They're never going to get on, but they were filling up the quota. That yesterday, any one of those guys could have come on, and that makes difficult decisions for the manager when you've got too many good decisions to make. I know it sounds silly, and people go, "What do you mean?" I said, when you've got 5, 6 players, and you look on the bench, you think, "Well, he can do it, and I've got to make that decision." That's tough. He got it spot on yesterday. I thought everything that he done yesterday, Arteta, he got right. You know what I mean? The team selection, when the substitutions were to come on. And, listen, I imagine that was a game, even though it weren't one of the greatest Man United Arsenal games. After about 70 minutes, players must be tired a little bit, cut little injuries to certain players. They're bringing on Maguire and
Johnny Evans,
and we're bringing on Jesus and Vieira. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and it made a difference, Albert. It really did make a difference. So, from my point of view, I felt that was good. Whether I weren't too confident going into this game. I'm going to be really honest. I'm a bit nervous. I wouldn't have been surprised if when it went 2-1. I know this is again what you say, like doom and gloom. I turned around to my mate James and Kevin, who sit with me, and I turned around and said, "It's going to be a tough season this year." And that's one I'll go on about decisions, inches, and whatever. How different I feel now to what I was feeling at that time, like, you know what I mean? So it's incredible what happened yesterday, like, you know what I mean? If VAR's there, people go, "Oh, VAR's there." If VAR wasn't there, we'd have got the penalty because there's no VAR to take it around. The referee give that penalty, so it would have been a different game. We'd have probably gone on and won the game. So in the end, VAR didn't help us, and it did help us. You know what I mean? So and listen, those decisions, and I know like it's Man United, and I love it. I still think like when it's like that, and you're getting lines out and rulers out and everything like that, for me, it's I think it's what have I done here? Press the wrong button.
No, you're right. Just do it, judges.
I just think that it should be onside. You know what I mean? Like, I really do. Like, but listen, the rules are the rules, and do you know what I'm going to say? I've got to say this. I've got to get this off my chest. I've got to get this off my chest. I want Man United only to win 2 games a season, right? And that's against Spurs, right? Yeah. Other than that, but if it weren't for the rivalry of Tottenham, and do you know what I mean? Like I think I hate Man United just as much as I do Spurs. I've got to say it, like, you know what I mean? I know I do. I'm going to be really.
I think Sophie said the same thing as well about United.
I really look at it now, like, you know, the Tottenham manager. You know, you can't really dislike him only to the fact that he's a Tottenham manager, right? Yeah, let's be honest. Like, I can't stand old Tin Hag. Can't stand him, like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't. And then you look at the Spurs players. There's 1 or 2 that you can't stand. You know, Son and Richarlison.
There's a few of them. There's a few.
Romario, as it happens, no, I'm thinking there's a few more than there should be. Dyer,
Romero, yeah.
You know what I mean? Romero, like, maybe not. But then I look at Man United, and I can go through it. And there ain't really that many I like at Man United, like, you know. Anthony, you know what I mean? How can you know what I mean? I detest him. Then you're looking at it, you know, Bruno. I think he's a good player, Fernandes, but you can't stand the dirty little sneak at the back, you know, like
Martinez.
Oh. You know, like he got injured trying to do one of our players yesterday. Like, you know what I mean? So, and I know I go back to in America, try to put one on Saka, knowing he ain't going to get no. Like ban and all that, like, you know, and then Harry Maguire comes up. There's a few at Man United, like, you know. So I have to say, and their fans are the worst.
Oh my!
They are the worst.
Lee, I'm telling you, when I was in that ground yesterday, like, you know, some of the guys a bit more better in terms of Flex and KG. I just know these guys had their draft tweets ready. They were singing, they were dancing. So when they came out of that stadium, humbled. I've never seen Flex and KG so quiet.
It's great, isn't it? Like, it is great. They're 2 great guys. I have to say that. Like,
they are
great guys, but they like to put the old banter up there, like, you know, tagging people and all that. That Flex the other week, like, you know, I mean, I'll tag him when I see him. But like, and then when you see him, look, listen, I'm not going to go. He's a nice guy. Don't get me right. And I know it's football banter, but he's all nice to your face. But deep down, he's hurting. He wanted to give you a stick. You know what I mean? And I love that. But they're fans. Listen, with Spurs fans, you can always banter them off and swat them like a fly because of, you know, the history. You can't with Man United. They've got a unbelievable history, Albert. Like, you know what I mean, with winning things. So, but they know it and they give it, like, you know what I mean. But listen, anybody Man United fan, like Man United fans, start going at me, oh yeah, you haven't won the Champions League, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. I always turn around and say, look, at the end of the day, you're in a 2-team city and you're not the best. You know what I mean? Like, and then they can't come back at it, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, at least what we've got, you know, I don't know how many teams in London, you know, to be the biggest and the best team in London. You know, like, don't get me wrong, Chelsea have had that little spell, a little spell against us, but at the end of it, it's not a spell of like domination.
No.
Manchester City, not only noisy neighbours, they've took over the neighbourhood. They've took it over. They took over the city. You know what I mean? Like, and I love it. And it couldn't have happened to a better. So do you imagine if that was Tottenham, what Man City are doing?
Yeah.
How bad it would be. You know what I mean? So enjoy your pills, sweet as a nut that they are. You know what I mean? Like, and it couldn't happen to a nicer set, a bunch of fans. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Judges, I'm with you. You know what it is? Because I have this. I big up my Liverpool guy in the chat because I actually like him. But you know what it is? As much as the rivalry with Tottenham, for me, you know what? It's always been Liverpool, you know. Like, Judges, I'm waiting for the day where I see you do a fan cam where we beat Liverpool at Anfield. That's the one.
Well, that'd be nice.
That's the way. It'd be nice, yeah. So for me, it's Liverpool. As much as I don't like Tottenham. And by the way, talking of Tottenham, Lee, my Tottenham YouTube wife has joined the chat. politely. Holly, I do love you, but I hate you as well.
Listen, I'll tell you what. I big up to Holly and all that, like, and Spurs. I see Abby for the first time in a little while yesterday, like, and she said, "Oh, it's lovely to see you. I haven't seen her since she's come back from Australia." Blah 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 blah. And the last thing she said to me as she walked off yesterday was, "I hope you lose," and I couldn't have it any other better way. I said I wouldn't have it any other way, like, you know what I mean. So it's. That's a rivalry. Listen, Arsenal Spurs is a rivalry that's been inbred in us over from birth. You know what I mean? Like, and you've got. I always say this to American fans or fans from like Australia and like that.
Yeah.
If you've got the same hate for Tottenham as I have, because it's a different. Do you know what I mean? Like, because where we've been growing up with it, Albert, and bantering your mates at school, like some of my best friends are Spurs fans, and then my brother's a Spurs fan. It's a different thing. But with Man United, it's not that territory rivalry that you've been brought up on. Like, do you know what I mean? It's grown out of competition. It's grown out of fierceness and whatever. It's a different thing with them. Like, I think like with Tottenham, and I know this, you've got to hate Tottenham because that's how it is. But with Man United, you ain't got to hate them. It's just there. You know what I mean? It's just an easy little transition to go into. Do you know what I mean? So,
no, well said. Listen, the preview, Holly, my Tottenham wife, the preview is going to be lined up. It's going to be pretty saucy. If you can get a ticket, Holly, try and get one. We'll meet up at it. I'll guard you safely to a point, but then you're on your own. To be honest with you. But no, judges, in the first half, like I want to ask you, like, I thought we would have more possession, which we did, but it's just typical. You made the point earlier. I don't know what it is. Our home form of conceding goals is dreadful. It's not the fact, and it's not just the fact that we concede goals; it's the way we concede them. The one play that Manchester United are always going to do right when he got the ball, judges, I feared the worst. Obviously, it came from when Havertz lost the ball, and I thought, if there's one Arsenal player that you don't want any Arsenal player to make a mistake, but it's the one player at the moment you don't want to make a mistake that leads to the goal. Havertz. It's just us for and then Rashford does what he does. Ben White could get a bit tighter. Ramsdale almost saved it, but we're 1-0 down after 25 minutes, and we're looking at thinking, how? Talk to me, judges.
Yeah, I've got to say that I felt we did have a lot of possession, but I didn't think we looked dangerous, no. and nor did they, to be fair. And when Havertz made that mistake, I just knew that he was going to go and score, Albert. I know it sounds silly, but, it's just the way it's going for him at the moment. Like, if that was somebody else, they knocked the ball off and whatever. I just knew that it was. Listen, Havertz gives the ball away, and I'm not he gives the ball away in the final third, I'm not being horrible. There's a lot more.
Yeah, well said.
Wrong after that, like that. Listen, I'm Ben White's biggest fan. I love him. I love him. If I was gay, he would be my man. You know what I mean? Like,
I love White. He was off the first half yesterday.
I love him as I love him as a defender. I love the way he plays. I love, he's got a little bit of what I like about a footballer. Like, he's got a bit of nastiness, but in a cute sort of a way.
Yeah.
His defending for that goal was shocking. And Saliba's, to be fair.
Yeah.
The pair of them, because they you just send him out on the left-hand side, tighten it, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It's just poor defending. But because it's Havertz, everybody sets their attention to that. But they were poor in doing that. And then they score. I will say after that, Rashford, I think, is a very, very good player. Was very, very quiet in the game. Ben White kept him very, very quiet. So it just shows you how good a player Ben White is. But good players, you can't let do things like that. We're 1-0 down, Albert, and you're thinking, I don't know how, but done on the counter attack again. You know what I mean? Like, and what was the response going to be like? And the response was just phenomenal. Absolutely unbelievable.
Fantastic
goal. What a goal. The build up to that goal is, do you know, like when they've got their goal, you can say like Havertz, Rashford done really well, poor defending and whatever. If you're now looking at our goal, I think their manager can't really turn around and say, "Oh, well, someone there made a mistake." It was a well-carved goal. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like it was precise. You know, I don't really look at it and think I can blame any Man United player for it. I know that people always say, "Oh, whenever a goal scored, there's somebody at fault." I get that, but I thought it was a well-constructed move. And a great goal. We've done it a couple of occasions yesterday, which I haven't seen in the last few games, by the way. You know, like the one which Saka missed, great football, you know, and the final goal, brilliant football. But that goal, once you're 1-0 down, do you know what I liked about that goal more than anything else? Is that you're 1-0 down, you know that everybody is all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the calmness of it, okay, we're 1-0 down. We're just going to do our thing still. I thought that is a poignant thing, really. Like, you know, so to go 1-1 like we did, I felt then we was going to kick on. I didn't think we did, if I'll be honest, Albert. Nope. I thought it was a bit, you know. So listen, we beat Fulham, and everybody would have turned around and said it's about the result, like, you know, blah blah blah. And it's the same yesterday, like, you know. I don't think there was much difference in performances as there's been in the past. But the for a win covers up 1,000 sins, you know what I mean? And I think that done that a little bit yesterday. And you have to say, Albert, who cares? You know, when you get a result like that,
the way we've done it.
Yeah, you do just think like, I can forgive mistakes, forgive this, forgive that, because that's what football is. It is a results business. You know, if Arsenal play like that and win every single game like that, you know, you're going to look back and go, well, that was a great season. You know what I mean? You know, I think that when you do lose and you do lose a league and you do not do that, you start looking at the defence creaking goals and things like that. Yeah. I think, you know, it's over 40 goals conceded last season. You know, that's good enough.
It's not good enough.
We've got to cut that down. But if you look at it, when we cut it down yesterday against Man United, they scored 1 last year, they scored 2. I know that Fulham scored a couple. And also, if you look at it, Nottingham Forest didn't score against us last season. So we're not cutting it down if you look at it like that. But that is something that they've got to work on and get sorted. And it's the one thing I don't think Arteta has addressed. I don't know, you know, you can look at, and I maybe making changes that he's made, a few changes in personnel. It certainly didn't work with Partey. I don't know the solution to that, but listen, great response to the goal, but disappointing to concede again. I don't know how you feel about it. What have you liked? A nice 2-0 boring win, or you wanted that? What? Be honest. What would you want? I would have said at the beginning of the game, I want a nice 2-0 or a 1-0 win because of the clean sheet. But then when you're walking out of the stadium and you're seeing what you're seeing and what you've experienced in that stadium today, you've got to take the 3-1, and you know what I mean, surely, and let go.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but that's the reason why I went 2-1 score predictions. I thought we just, something needs to be addressed defensively. Now, people kept talking about, and I made this point so many times last season, judges, that yes, Saliba was a massive miss, but even when he was in the side in our home games, we were still conceding, and it's still the same thing this season. You know, whether it be conceding in 58 seconds, 20 seconds, they're not prepared. Like, what? I don't know. Yes, you can go back on the training ground and you can rectify it, which they're going to have to do anyway, but it needs to be fixed as soon as possible, because we can't maintain, you know, home wins or potentially going for a league title, going toe-to-toe with Man City and conceding the goals the way we do. We can't do it.
No, I agree.
And we'll touch upon when we obviously face them not down the road in a few weeks' time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first half, judges, you make a good point. The one thing you've got to credit the side for, amongst the moans and groans and a lot of possession and not having a lot of chances other than the Havertz chance, which he completely fluffed, by the way.
Yeah.
But to get back as quickly as we did, and the goal was fantastic. And actually, what I was pleased with, judges, was one thing I said about Martinelli coming into last season was I want to see him get more goals. He's added that. This season, what I want to see him do is get more assists.
Yeah.
In order for him to do that, footballers do it, but just sometimes just get your head up, mate. Like, it's not, it's not something that needs to be coached. It's in game when you got the ball and just seeing that players are in a better position, or you make that final pass. And he's actually done it a few times already in the opening games, but also more so for the goal yesterday, which was fantastic. But Judge, what I want to touch on before we sort of move on to like the second half kind of play. One thing I want to address, one thing I want Arsenal to address. I don't know how you feel about this. Speaking to a couple of fans after the game, he needs to work on the training ground, our set pieces. I'm sorry, you've got to identify who's your best corner taker, or you switch it around. You do some outswingers. You take the short corners. There's got to be more variation because some of our delivery from set pieces was atrocious yesterday. But that needs to be worked on.
I think you're right. I don't think it's the actual set pieces. Because I actually think that we there was another one different here yesterday when this one going into the player and coming out and all that. Yeah. I think it's how we what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you know, the delivery of them all. Like, it's not. I think the way we set up and the way we do, there is varieties of it, but we don't execute it properly. You know what I mean? Like, and I look at it yesterday and think like Martinelli. I remember going to what was it? A game against Fulham last year.
Yeah,
kept piling it on to the keeper like Leno, and I'm going, what are they doing it for? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, change it. And then then they put one in, he drops it and scores. So they looked at that and thought, you know what? If we keep doing it to him, he'll drop one in. Like, you know. But I don't think the execution of our free kick, our set plays yesterday was good enough. Like, we never hit them first men and all that. Like, so that's something that they've got to look to do. I thought Martinelli was brilliant yesterday. Fantastic battle with Wan-Bissaka. I thought it was fantastic. You know, their best defender up against, you know, the pace and everything there. But on set pieces, his corners and deliveries weren't good enough.
Yeah,
and I think it's more of that than actually the actual setup of the set pieces. In my opinion, that's only my opinion. I just felt that he didn't deliver them as well as what he could. And if you ever look back on it yesterday, Saka was the one for the goal, wasn't he? Who took it on that side, and he took it well. It was a good corner. But I think it's more about, right, you know, Martinelli be a little bit more precise and a little bit more taking care of your delivery. I think that was probably the poor thing from that. But I tell you what, it's a great point you make about him on his like assist and all that. I remember. Do you remember at Liverpool last season?
Oh, I said that. Yeah,
he had the chance to just play it in. He didn't. Yesterday, there was a little bit more precision and care with what he was doing. I think because he's so quick. Yeah. He you know, he needs to just slow down a little bit, and I think he's done that. It's a couple of times now he's made good assists. You know, just being that little bit more careful in his final part. You know what I mean? But you know, still, I'm going to say it now, but I still think Martinelli is a little bit raw. I still think that you're right what you're saying now, but you know, I wouldn't swap him for the world. I think that he'll get that as well. Like, and I think like everything about him will come well and come good. Like, you know.
Yeah. No, well said. I know how much you love Martinelli.
Yeah, I do. I'm going to stick up.
Yeah. I love Benjamin White as well. But the second half, I don't know about you judges, but again, like we had a lot of possession, but if you actually look at chances, actually shots on target, working the goalkeeper, I don't really remember us working Onana that many times in the second half. Saka had that great chance. He's got to bury that. He has to bury that. But I thought, judges, I don't know what you thought, because you mentioned about substitutions earlier, but I was sitting, two of the guys I was sitting next to, I said, you know what? Something's missing, the spark's missing, whether it's just a case of getting Ben White further up on the right-hand side. Saliba tried to come into midfield and step in a few times because we just needed something a little bit more different. So yes, he made the triple substitution, but I would have liked to have seen it just a fraction earlier. I don't know what your thoughts were about that.
I'm going to be honest. I thought that they were the right time, if I'll be honest. You know what I mean? I get what you're saying. Another cut, a little bit harsh on the players coming, like not so much Havertz, because I think he's struggling. Yeah, but I thought Eddie, you know, worked his socks off yesterday, and you know, I felt that it would have been a little bit harsh if you took him off after 55. I know what he's saying. So listen, it's a harsh game. You know what I mean? In reality. you know, I've heard a lot of people turning around. I don't know if you're one of them that was saying, and maybe Saka should have come off. I get that.
Ooh, I thought didn't hear that one.
He was poor, but I think with Saka, even though he's having a poor game, you've got to keep him on. Someone said yesterday, which is a good point. He said, like, you know, Martinelli looked very, very dangerous all the time.
Yeah,
and he took him off and not Saka. And I think with Martinelli, I think he goes through a lot more work. I don't mean that in a nasty way. I think he has to do a little bit more chasing back, a little bit more hard work. And I just think that Saka can just give you that little bit special. I think, you know, listen, we won the game. So it's hard to say, like, you know, the substitutions at the right time or the wrong time. I hear what you're saying. I could have made him a bit earlier, a bit more ruthless and all that. Like, but I will say, I think that I looked at it like, and I said, well, it take Zinchenko off because he hasn't. But I thought that was the right time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it was.
Ruin him, and he's, you know, he's had 70 minutes, got to go off on international duty now, which is not great. But at least he gets some more minutes under his belt without the pressure of us playing. Do you know? So like, and I felt that was a good substitution. I maybe you could have took Havertz off a little bit earlier than what he did, like, you know. But in the end, Vieira come on, and, you know, like, it's 2 assists now. He's
exactly.
He's done in 48 minutes. Someone told me today. Big improvement on last season, Albert. Like, you know, he looks a different player this season. A little bit of confidence, and he's banging on the door now. But hard to criticise the substitutions and time and all that because you win the game. But, you know, listen, if we'd have lost the game. Fine margins. I have to say, you're right. It's fine margins, you know. Listen, we could be having a different show and a different conversation here if we'd have lost this game 2-1.
Yeah,
that's how close and tough that was, like, you know what I mean? So,
yeah. No, you make a good point about Saka. I get it, because he wasn't having his best game. Let's have it right. He wasn't, from what I saw anyway. But I thought in the second half, I think the reason why, because Rashford and Dalot were most fullbacks and wide guys do it. They double up on Saka and Martinelli.
Yeah.
But I thought in the second half, I thought Rashford, for me, slightly negated that duty a little bit. That's why, for me, Saka got a little bit more room, and Ben White was able to overlap a bit more. But like you say, you make a good point. You know, if we lose the game, we might criticize the substitutions a bit more, or sorry, not criticize. We might talk about it a bit more, should I say? No, it's a plausible point, man. But judges, you know what?
Also, the Nelson one was a good substitution as well, like, because you look at that, you got Smith Rowe on there, Trossard, but he went for a little bit more, little bit like for like, direct pace, if you like, you know, instead of trickery, if you know. I thought he got it right yesterday, I have to say.
No, I think you make a good point about the pace. I just think at times in the first half, a little bit, we didn't have that injection of pace.
No,
it wasn't no speed in our play or transition, but it was a bit more purposeful and a bit more quicker with the substitutions made. So I'll give the boss a little bit more credit.
Yeah, give him a little bit.
But yeah, they have to go. They think they score. From where I saw at the point, from where I was sitting, I sit opposite Mikel Arteta, row 11. So it looked offside from when I first saw it at the naked glance.
All right, so using that.
Yeah, so I was at the point thinking about, they got the goal. The stadium's thinking, oh my God, we've been sucker punched. Then we get the reprieve. But then, judges, I'm going to have to ask you about this guy, man. Listen, Declan, jollof rice, curry goat and rice, Declan, basmati rice, whatever you want, the blood hell you want to call him. Lee, I've got to be honest. I tweeted it yesterday. So I loved this guy before he even came to Arsenal. I just like him as an individual, as a person. Incredibly charismatic, a brilliant footballer, can play the 6 or the 8. Just to ask you, sort of, not just so much about his performance yesterday, judges, but just when we was linked with him, what were your kind of thoughts? Because I always say this, judges, before I come to you. I know Arsenal fans have got very short memories, in my own humble opinion, because I said this with Declan Rice when I went onto the lovely Sky Sports News, that this is not a player that we haven't heard about. This is not a player that was playing in League One and we hadn't a clue who he was, and he was this fantastic guy breaking through. he's been in the West Ham setup for a number of years. He's had almost, I think, almost 50 England caps. And I say to people, and this is when I was fully convinced, judges. When I watch Bellingham and Saka got a lot of credit in the World Cup in Qatar, and rightly so. Declan Rice's performance in that quarterfinal against France was elite level. And I said, you know what? This guy's fantastic. When we got linked with him, I was all on board, mate. I said, look, are Arsenal going to have to pay over the odds to get him? Yes, they will. And they did. They paid £33 million more than they paid for Pepe. I love him. I think if just watching him, if you just watch him, don't watch any other players, just watch him. Look at the difference he makes to our midfield. People use the term game changer too often. This guy is a game changer. Judges, what's your thoughts, man?
Dream signing.
Yeah.
5 years ago or whatever, like, you know, you dream, it's a signing you never have, Albert. You know what I mean? I watched it yesterday and felt reality. It gives us just a different dimension. It gives us power. It gives us legs in there.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm a massive fan of Casemiro. I actually think Casemiro now is as peaked and he's coming down, you know what I mean, to what he was. But listen, fantastic footballer. Got overrun by him yesterday. Overrun by him so much, I'll see him out on the wing. You know what I mean? Like that, because he just couldn't, you know, dominate him. It was a midfield performance that I haven't seen from an Arsenal player in a very, very long while.
Good shout.
I'm not going to mention the player that I think that he comes close to because it's unfair.
Yeah.
But that's the sort of performances that I used to see when we was winning titles from a certain midfield player. That's how good he is. I can't say no more than that. I don't think he's as good as you know,
the certain guy. We know it's about judges.
We know who it is. I'm not going to put him in that in that thing, but I think that, you know, he's got what it takes to become as legendary as him, and that's the biggest compliment I can give to him. Likable, gets the fans, knows how to work the fans, Albert. I think that's a very, very key thing about a lot of these Arsenal players now. I think they know how.
His interview is brilliant, judges. Brilliant. Love him.
Brilliant. But the way he conducts himself after the games, before the games, he engages with the fans on and off the pitch not during the game, but like after before it. And I listen again. 3 or 4 years ago, I didn't really like any Arsenal players. I'll be really honest with you, like, you know what I mean. Like, now you've got they're scattered all over the place. Well, you know what I mean. You can argue about, like, you know, Ben White, Saliba. I love the pair. I'm loving Gabriel. Shinchenko comes out yesterday after the game with his little girl, waving at all the crowd, you know, fist pumping and all that. I don't know if it's something that's been put into them, but they know how to work us fans and get us on side.
Yeah.
And Declan Rice has done that straight away. Now, I don't know if it's because he's English and he gets it and everything like that. I want to see Kai Havertz doing the same. Whether he's doing it, just engage a little bit with the fans. You know what I mean? Like, do something that can just try and get the fans on your side. Because once you've won over the Arsenal fans, you've won them over. You know, and listen, I think coming from West Ham, I'll be honest, do you know, the first time I spoke to a fella, right, this is a true story, this is Oxford away in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Last season. Fella come up to us and said, you know, we got a very, very good chance of getting Declan Rice. He was family member or someone he knew. Started showing me some texts, and you think, well, that could be true or not true.
Yeah, of course.
And I actually said, like, you know, it's a nice thought.
Yeah, I thought that.
But we you know, we won't be getting him because not that he's too good for us, but it's just you know, he ain't that sort of player. Then you hear things like, that he is wanting to come to Arsenal, and then you hear Cameron Brady turning around and saying on the radio the day of the game, don't matter what we offered him, he said, like, he wants to go to Arsenal. When you get that, Albert, a top player, saying that he wants to go to the Arsenal. Now, he knows, and he's probably still touch and go whether his legacy stature at West Ham has been tarnished by going to Arsenal, which it could be.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter as much as I like, he'll always be grateful of West Ham. It meant more to him to go to the Arsenal. And that's such a massive thing for this football club and us as fans, you know what I mean? That one of the best English players, 24 years of age, wants to come and play for the Arsenal. Said yesterday, which I thought was a great thing, I want to come here and grow and make this club better than what it is now, like, and I want to make myself better. I want to grow with it's just, like things that you dreamt of hearing years ago, Albert. I've got to say that as an Arsenal fan, you know what I mean? I thought those days were gone. But here we are, signing a big player like that. A lot of jealousy and a bitterness from a lot of other people because, I get that. I get that. But I've seen players like, dare I say it, Wayne Rooney being linked with Man United and other teams, never Arsenal. Name any player over the last big player that's, linked to go here, linked to go there, never at Arsenal. This signing means that we can believe that anybody can come to the Arsenal now to a certain degree. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's so much. And I'm going to be really honest. One of the reasons that he decided to come to Arsenal because of some of the players we've got there now, i.e. Saka, Martinelli, Jesus, Saliba. Why wouldn't you want to come and play for the Arsenal? Massive club. Now you've got Declan Rice. All of a sudden, Arsenal is a big draw.
Yeah.
Forget about the Champions League. None of these players come up other than Declan Rice now for Champions League football. They've all come because of the Arsenal. Declan Rice has come also because he wanted to come to the Arsenal and play and be involved in. What I've liked about Declan Rice as well, he's never mentioned Champions League.
Nope.
Never mentioned. Turns around and says buzzing for a Man United Arsenal game and the history that goes on it. Saying the right things at the right time, Albert. Like an intelligent footballer on the pitch and an intelligent person off it. We've got him. Fantastic.
Yeah, Judge, couldn't put it better. And I said this just before we sort of move on, is that when we was linked with him, I thought this is going to be a wind up. This is a good game, Declan Rice. Then it grew a bit more legs, and I thought, oh, this could possibly happen. And then you hear it. Now we've got him here the way he speaks about Arteta. But I said this, Judges, don't know what your thoughts are. And Arsenal fans watching this now and watching this back on the rerun. And I've said it before. This wasn't about whether you wanted Declan Rice or not. This was about Arsenal being able to get their number one marquee signing and for the knock-on effect that it will have.
100%.
And that's what it was about for me. And the fact that the way he speaks about, wanting to come to Arsenal when he's now here. And let me make it very, very clear. This is not about me saying what I'm saying and what Judges is saying about Rice just off the back of yesterday. Yes, he played well in his man of the match and he scored, but it's what he's done before he came to Arsenal, what he's done in an England shirt, and what he's doing now currently at Arsenal. It's the whole package for me. And I'm just so glad he's one of our players, mate, to be honest with you.
And listen, he will go down. I think in my Arsenal career, my Arsenal following Arsenal, we've had 3 now major signings that have transformed the football club. 2 you're going to know, and 1 you'll look at me and go, "Oh, really?" So obviously Declan Rice is that one there. Dennis Bergkamp's the second one,
100%,
and Charlie Nicholas is the third.
Bit before I love Charlie. I've seen clips of him.
Bit before your time.
Yeah.
But we was in the doldrums a little bit when Charlie Nicholas signed for Arsenal, and he was the biggest thing, youngest, hottest property coming out of British football at the time. Liverpool, Manchester United, and Arsenal went for him. Arsenal got him. What it said was that Arsenal had that pulling power. It didn't quite work out in the way we all wanted it for Charlie, but it put us back in there. Do you know what? Arsenal are a big club. Yes, Arsenal can pull players. Yes, it moved us to a different stage. Dennis Bergkamp done that again. If you look back at the Dennis Bergkamp, we was 94, 95, poor season. We was in the doldrums. Bergkamp come along, give you a lift as it was. I'll never forget Dennis Bergkamp. So I was in America. I was touring America. I was like traveling around America at the time, like, you know, and Dennis Bergkamp signed along with David Platt, funny enough, at the same day. And I said, I'm coming home. I'm coming home for the new season, like, you know what I mean? I'll be back in August, you know what I mean? Like, but that's how big a signing that was, you know what I mean? Like, now, if you look at Dennis Bergkamp, it didn't quite work out first few games, and then it did. And people will turn around and go, oh, what about Vieira? What about Henry? Those sort of guys. That we was in a good place when those players come in. And we were in a good place when Declan Rice has come in, just off the back of a great season. But we've not nailed it yet. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
you know,
all of them free signings have pushed us on to bigger and better fit. I think now, because of Charlie Nicholas, we got other players and we got things like that. Bergkamp the same, and I think this one with Declan Rice now, it's not about what he's done over one game or two games.
Yeah, 100%.
It's the whole thing around it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, you know, England's best midfield player, along with Jude Bellingham. Now, Jude Bellingham is a different sort of a player.
Yeah,
but he went to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
The other side of it is with Declan Rice, I think he could have gone wherever he wanted to go as well. You know, like, he could have gone to Man City at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Man United couldn't afford him, but all what I'm hearing, what I've heard from him, he's always wanted to go to Arsenal. Now, people have said he wanted to go to Chelsea and all that. Like, I've heard from people that he weren't. Chelsea done a bit of a dirty on him back in the day, and he wasn't prepared to go to Chelsea. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know, but he wanted to go to the biggest club in London.
Well said. But yeah, I'm pleased we got him. But just quickly about Havertz, and we'll sort of touch on. Well, we've got a 2-week break, but we'll touch on North London derby because I think it's going to be a bit different this season. Yeah, with Havertz, when we was linked with him, I wasn't sure, and I'm still not sure if I'm honest. I was very, because I think someone said it. I think Simon Jordan said it. He said to Martin Keown, if Havertz was the answer, then what was the question? And I thought that's quite a good way to say it, because I thought it was a good way to say it. So I watched him yesterday, like you said, and I've watched the games I've seen, and I thought he did okay against Palace. Thought he's okay in the Community Shield as well. Last week and yesterday, I don't know, judges. It's a hard one because it's not that. Listen, let's have it right. Arsenal fans, you don't really get a decision in terms of you giving players time. You know, the manager's going to pick him. He's going to pick him, right? But I'm looking at it, and I'm hoping, and I will probably judge it, judges, not just with him, but with Arsenal in terms of how we're doing our first 8 games of the season. So we're halfway through, played 4. We see how we get in the next 4 games, and then you'll see a shape of the team and how it's looking in terms of the free-flowing football. At the moment, it's a bit, you're not sure, but with Havertz, judges, I just want to get your thoughts, really. I don't think he's in the team in spite of somebody else being in the team. I just think if you're going to put him, like, where else are you going to play him, really? I mean, yeah, you can play him as a false 9, and maybe if you're chasing the game and it's 1-1, you want to get 2-1 or you're 1-0 down, you might put him further forward and play him as a bit of a target man. But I'm looking at him at the moment, and he's playing the games. And you mentioned about confidence. I think my worry is that if he'd have come to Arsenal and had come from a different league and he was struggling a bit, and you thought, oh, you know what, he's not picking up the pace, so just give him a bit more time. But I think this is his 3rd year in the Premier League now. And I'm like, I expect him to see a little bit more. I don't think that's being overreactionary. I don't think he's even being harsh. So where are you with it at the moment, judges with Havertz?
Do you know what? He makes some good points there. And I think that at the end of the day, the funny thing about Premier League football now is you don't get time. No, you don't get time as a manager. You don't get time as a player. You've got to come in and hit the ground running. Yeah. If I'll be really honest with you, Declan Rice's first couple of games weren't memorise him, but what he was doing was okay. But everybody was going, oh, well, he needs to get fit and all that. Like, as soon as he's up and running with his fitness, the last 2 games have been magnificent, you know. Mm-hmm. I think with Havertz, he's one of those players that does need a little bit of time. Could have been, and again, I'm going to say small margins. You know, you go back to the Crystal Palace game. If Martinelli has a better touch, scores that goal, it's an assist. You know, scores yesterday, it's a different thing for him. Penalty goes in, he gets well. You know, he's done well there. It's just not quite happening for him at the moment, like, you know. And I'm sorry, Albert. I'm going to say it like, you know, Arsenal have a tradition. It's been going on for years and years and years when they've always had a player that they're not quite take to for whatever reason. For whatever reason, you know, I'll go back. Paul Davis was a fantastic player for Arsenal.
Beautiful player to watch.
Beautiful player. But in his first couple of years and all that, was given stick. You know what I mean? But what did he do? He rode it out and become one of a big firm's fan. Always, you know, I had the pleasure of meeting Paul and I always selling that. You know what I mean? Like, credit to you. That is what Kai has got to do. He's just got to work through it. I think he's playing with a little bit of lack of confidence. It's unbelievable when you think about it, Albert.
Yeah.
You're a professional footballer and you're lacking confidence. 65 million. Listen, we've all played football and you know, it can go, you know, not right for you. And the players are looking at you and thinking, well, you're not this and you're that. And you've got to win them over as well as the supporters and all that, like, you know. And I think, you know, look at Vieira. I think he's a terrific talent, but not doing it. Come on last week. And I think, look at where he got the penalty and his confidence. He just looked a different person. And I think that will happen with Havertz. The trouble is, you know, fans are not going to give him time at the moment. And this is really now, what does Mikel do? He's got internationals now. I don't know if he's in the international squad or not, like, but you know, let him get away with it. And then do you keep playing him to get into form? Now, when people turn around and go, "Oh, is he the answer or is the question to the answer?" and all that, like, you know, I don't really look at it like that. You know, we lost Xhaka, who I think still a massive part to what we was playing and how he played it and played it superbly well. We needed to replace Xhaka. That's what he's done. Whether he's going to be a natural replacement for him, I don't know. But like, people, you know, then go, well, like, Xhaka's brilliant. But how long did it take for Xhaka to do what those?
A long time, yeah.
So I think 2 things are going against Havertz. No, 3 things are going against Havertz at the moment, which I think is pressure. A couple of them fair, maybe unfair. One is come from Chelsea.
That's the first thing, yeah.
Right, that's the first thing. So straight away, like, you know, there's that pressure. Oh, we've got done £65 million. A
lot of money.
Right, a lot of money. Maddison turning it to doing the business at Tottenham for 40 million, right? So whatever Maddison does at Tottenham people shouldn't be comparing what Havertz is doing at Arsenal. It's completely
That's different. A bit unfair, yeah. You can't.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Maddison's a great player. I'm not saying he's not, but you know, why compare him with Havertz? And people are starting to do that. Oh, we could have got him and all that, like. But so that one's unfair. So he's got a couple of things to do that. I think he's had a torrid time at Chelsea, by the way. You know what I mean? Like, mentally, physically, and whatever. Like, you know, now he's come to a club where it's a little bit different and everything, like a little bit different environment. I wouldn't want to be at that club like Chelsea. If I was a professional footballer, I'm not going there because of the environment it is, you know, and it's going to take a time for it to sort itself out. So for me, I think that just give him time, you know what I mean? Just take the pressure off of him. And don't expect too much at this moment in time. Build on it. If it's me, I think it's a real difficult one now, whether you keep him in the side or take him out.
Well, particularly with our next game, judges, bloody hell.
We've got Everton next, haven't we?
Is it Everton or Everton Spurs, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
We've got Everton away, then we've got
Spurs at home,
then Champions League game, and then Spurs. So I feel that it's a bit of a dilemma that we've got there. What do you actually do with him? Like, you know what I mean? and it, you know, it's tough.
It's judges. It's hard because I think with this signing, it's almost like it's like Arteta's death warrant, man. Like it's because you've brought him in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a hard one, man. It is hard.
It's a hard one. I get maybe playing him as a substitute, getting into the game. Like, you know, Everton away is going to be a physical game next week. So next time we play. So do you go with his physicality? I probably would.
Yeah.
I'll probably give him the game against Everton. And do you know what? I'll probably give him the game against PSV because it's Champions League. If then he's put in the performances that he's put in, then Tottenham at home, I'm afraid, you know what I mean, we can't take no more risk. So and you know, as a footballer, Albert, you don't want to be right. It's on one game. You know, Mikel might have said this, like, I'm going to give you 5-6 games. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know, but like, I know that if you're playing, and you know, if you've got if a manager rates you and believes in you, you've got a better chance of it working. So I don't know. It's a difficult one at this moment in time with Havertz. I don't know the answer. I'm going to be really honest about it. I don't. If you say to me what to do, I don't know what to do at this moment in time. What I've seen in the last couple of games is a player that looks a good player. You can see that he's got ability. He's not fitting into the system. He slows things down a little bit but he keeps the ball. And I see a player lacking confidence. So I don't know what is it. I don't know. There you go.
Yeah, no, judges. You probably echo a lot of Arsenal because I'm like that. It's because obviously Mikel talks about wanting more possession of the ball, but then one of our strengths last season was the speed in our transition, but we don't have that with Havertz in the side. Now, what do you do? And like I said, the next 2 games got coming up. We've got international break, Everton away. We need to see a better performance there than we saw last season. I know that for definite anyway.
100%.
And then Spurs is different. And I know the whole trophies thing and the trophy dodgers thing, but let's have it right. The way Big Ange just started, this is not a Tottenham side that playing the same way they did under a Conte or a Mourinho. It's a completely different ball game. And I know the games are you have to go game by game, but I just think with the 2 games we've got coming up, particularly the home game against Tottenham, tough decisions. But you know what, judges? We're not the manager, so he's got to worry about
We've got 2 games before that. I think, you know, don't forget when we play Spurs on the Sunday, they'd have had a week's preparation for this. We've got that Champions League game and all that. Like, this is where the squad rotation has to come in a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm looking at these 2 games now. As far as I'm concerned, Everton and PSV, we have to weather those games without with changing the team about a little bit. Then come Tottenham, it's your your best 11 again. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think we've got to navigate these 2 games with the squad rotation and then hopefully get the 3 points against Everton, 3 points against PSV, and then negotiate
Spurs at home.
Spurs at home. Be very interesting in these next couple of games. Team selection.
It will. Now you make a good point. You've kind of brought me onto it before we finish up. Is that with Arteta? He does say some strange things in press conferences about. I'm like, sometimes you don't help yourself, but that's just him in it. But we do like him. But you first came into Arsenal. Different centre back pairing, different this, different that, not having a settled team. There's more settled team last year, or settled first 11, should I say. This season's different because it's about how you manage rotating the team in terms of what you had last season and the recruitment that you had this season. So he's having to mix that. But like I said, he's the manager. This is his 4th season out, I believe it is. So listen, the better the team does, the more the heat's not on him, should I say, to be honest with you. But that's how it is, man.
Exactly that. You know, it's a results business, Albert. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if at the end of the day, we're after 4 games, we played 3 of them at home, we're unbeaten. Listen, football's a funny sort of thing, really. You know, if we'd have beaten Fulham and drawn to Crystal Palace, people would be going, "It's not a bad start. It's a because we've dropped those points against Fulham at home, it doesn't look great. You know what I mean? Like, you know, but let's see how he's got the result yesterday, and I think he got the result for being positive with the substitutions and whatever. And this is where it's different for Arteta now, because he's negotiating
Champions League. Exactly.
Yeah, where like last season, Europa League, we knew that there'd be 7-8 changes, and you knew that if you lost, it still didn't matter because you're still going to go through with your own games, and you're always going to get one away result, which we got early on. You know, when you're playing at Bodo and places like that, you know you're going to win that game. You always knew you was going to go through, and we did. This is now different. This is different. You know, PSV, you know, can't be taken lightly and make 6 or 7, 8 changes and then expect to win that game and then go again. So he's got to be very, very careful. Whatever. I think he's got to make 2 or 3 changes every game now. You know, maybe with Everton, I don't know. You know, make 3 or 4. Say like maybe 1 or 2 against Everton, 2 or 3 against PSV. Just right. I don't know how he's going to do it, but this is where it's going to be interesting, and this is where, you know, for me, this is going to be a key time now for Arsenal with this Champions League games. You know what I mean? We've got to navigate 6 games where you look at teams like Tottenham haven't got to negotiate Champions League and that, and can just carry on playing their school. With that comes different problems, because you've got to keep the players happy that are not playing, which Arteta's had in the past. So this time he's got to keep everybody fresh, and I expect a few changes against PSV, if I'll be honest, but not as many as what the Europa League. It's going to be an interesting time for him, like, you know. And this is what the success, you know, with success comes pressure, you know what I mean, and a different sort of pressure now. This is, you know, pressure we've brought on ourselves, and bring it on. You know, good luck with it.
Well said, judges. Well said. People, smash the like button for Albert JTV on the Twitter feed, on YouTube, and of course on Facebook as well. And if you don't know what to do by now, people, this is what you should do. There you have it, people. Funky intro to subscribe to Albert JTV. And thanks for watching. Judges, it's an absolute pleasure. People, if you haven't subscribed to Lee Judges TV, which I'm sure you should have done by now, it's in the title. Just click, subscribe, all done. But judges, it's been an absolute pleasure to get you on. I need to get you on more, but you know, we'll do some Instagram lives.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
Anytime. No, pleasure to get you on, man. But yes, people, you will see me again actually a little bit later at 3 o'clock. I've got my amazing guest, Tom White Media from Sky Sports News. Plenty to discuss. So we'll see you at 3 p.m. Audio listeners, you will not ever be forgotten, because you'll hear me and Judges' is fantastic dulcet tones. Judges is the only man that leaves better voice notes than I do. Love Judges, man. But yeah, people, that is Albert JTV over and out. Arsenal 3, Manchester United 1. Enjoy the international break, people. Come on, you guys.